little time, but we will settle this issue. All right, moving on, Executive Director report, Mr. Smock.
Well, good evening, everyone. While you are well. Please don't leave on my account. Take me with me, please. I have 10 things I would like to discuss tonight, and I promise it doesn't sound nearly as bad as 10 things sound. When Jeff gave his comments, our auditor, he talked about bookkeeper. I expect to have a bookkeeper on board by November 1st if all goes well, including a background check, criminal background check, and all that goes into that. The next position, the administrative assistant, I'm hoping to have probably by the end of the first week in November, again assuming that background checks are, in this case, negative, meaning that there is nothing there. The bookkeeper, both of these positions are important. Jeff has left, but the bookkeeper, I think, in my opinion, of the two is the most important. The association, as you well know more than I, has been without a bookkeeper for some time. That has caused, among other things, I don't want to emphasize that it's all the bookkeeper's fault or anything along those lines, but not having a bookkeeper and things that are alleged to, and are hearsay to me at least, to have occurred, need to be addressed. We need to undo certain things before we can start doing certain things. And for people who express concern about our finances, particularly access to financial data, an income statement, a balance sheet, etc., having that bookkeeper on board, or in place, being trained by Jeff in part, by me in part, and learning as he or she goes. Well, I hope to begin to address some of those issues. So that's staff. I was going to talk about background screening, but the board stole my thunder, so I'll skip over that. I can tell you that my plan was that any new paid staff person, part-time or full-time, will go through a background check. There are a variety of background check agencies out there. Most are online, where they give a cursory review of databases that are provided by governmental entities. So they're only checking information as good as the person who provides it. Those run about $30. For $125, there is a firm, and thank you, Marvin, for bringing this to my attention, in Corpus Christi that not only uses a database, but they have 3 private investigators, or PIs, in the nomenclature, that check for civil litigation, that check for other matters that could speak to someone's character, someone's credibility, someone's veracity, etc. So that is staff and background checks. While I'm on this page, the association is joining an entity called CAI, which stands for Community Associations Institute. This is an international organization, actually. It is the trade association / advocacy group for POAs, HOAs, condominium owners associations. CAI develops a list of what they call best practices for these entities, as well as management companies who oversee these entities. So I think that the board, all board members are going to join CAI as board members. I am joining as a manager. Anyone can join. If you're interested, just Google Community Associations Institute, and you're more than welcome to join. But as I said, they provide great continuing education. There are opportunities to interact with other similarly situated professionals, be they managers, board members, or homeowners, as well as those vendors that provide a variety of services to those entities. Employment lawyers, HOA lawyers, construction firms, etc. We are somewhat disadvantaged in Corpus Christi because the closest chapter is San Antonio, so we're a little bit out in the sticks from that point of view. But with the internet, with phones and all that, we can stay very much in touch. And speaking of that, I spoke with you in September about software, both our internal software, Microsoft Office, emails, all of those kinds of fun things, the website, as well as the bigger issue of property management software, which allows us to administer the POA by tracking accounting, tracking workflows, tracking member accounts, knowing who lives where, how long they live there, basic information like that. I don't think it's any secret that the present system, which is TOPS, T-O-P-P-S, is antiquated. To that, I received, and I've had Martin Jones has been in on this as well, along with our auditor, Jeff, as well as one of our staff people in the office. We received 3 presentations from 3 vendors of this property software management systems. These systems are a little bit like cell phone plans. There's a lot of similarities between them or among them, but there are a few differences. And so determining what those differences are, what the similarities are, and how they best serve the association is going to be an intense task. One way to hopefully get some better education on this is there is an association in San Antonio called the Great Northwest. Obviously, whoever named it was not good at geography. The Great Northwest Community Improvement Association. That's a mouthful. They are a similarly situated organization to the POA. They have some 5,000 homeowners. They also oversee basketball courts, a community center, 2 swimming pools, 4 tennis courts, and a variety of other common elements. This organization, as I said, it's our size. It also uses the most upgraded version of TOPS. So I have spoken with the community manager, who's essentially my counterpart at the Great Northwest Community Improvement Association, and I'm just waiting for a day that Marvin and I can go, spend a day there, looking at TOPS and how TOPS is used in action, particularly in workflow. From the point where a homeowner says, I have a problem with a bulkhead, as an example, and how that problem is addressed, how the vendor bills us, how we pay the vendor, and then how we preserve that history in case it becomes an issue months or even years down the road. So Marvin and I are going to take a field trip probably in the first part of November. As to what I mentioned a moment ago about the Microsoft Office technology, what we're mostly familiar with, we retained a company, Corpus Christi Info Technology, to come in, look at our systems, both our hardware and our software. We're going to be upgrading our software. Presently, most of the software is outdated, including our ability to receive and send emails and do some other routine things that anybody here who sits in front of a computer a few hours a day would take probably for granted. So we're going to upgrade that software so that we can more efficiently work in the office and ultimately serve our clients, who are you and the rest of the homeowners. Let's see. Payroll has been outsourced. We discussed that a little bit, I believe, at the September 25th meeting. Just sort of rolling here along, the fall newsletter was mailed today. It's been mailed bulk rate, so probably within a week all of you should have that, so please look for that. That has information pertaining to, most importantly, in my opinion, the filing deadline for running for the board and what you need to do to file. One suggestion I might make is that for elections that take place in 2020, that a standard application form be developed by the board in conjunction with me and the staff so that we streamline applying for running for the board. How to borrow, everybody's favorite subject, and mine. You know the condition of how to borrow. My thanks if he's still here. He was here. Brian, are you still here? Thank you, Brian. Brian developed an RFP back in the summer to essentially repair Cabo de Varo. Brian came by and asked me today, did I need anything further from him, which I thought was very gracious, so thank you, Brian. And Brian and I agree that we need engineering before we send out any RFPs or RFQs, whatever terminology you want to use, so that we make sure that we have a set of standards by which the contractor, whoever it is, who's chosen by the board, again, has those standards from which to work. So I've contacted 3 engineering firms. Voss Engineering said no. Ash Engineering wants to charge us $5,400. I want to know, what are you going to do for $5,400? The estimate was very, very thin. And then finally, there is a CASA Engineering that wants to charge $100 just to come out and take a look, but it may be worth it. I want to see what their estimate is and what they were willing to provide once they get out here. Once we have an engineering estimate, the board then can look at that, decide if it wants to accept, reject, or perhaps modify that estimate, and then we can go about the RFP process. The building itself, the office building. First day I walked into the office on September 5th, Marvin said hi, hello, got me a cup of coffee, and then showed me the indoor waterfall. It was the back wall. And I have to say, I've never seen an indoor waterfall before, at least not by not design, let me put it that way. So the wall needs to be repaired. As you can imagine, with water and humidity and more water, even more humidity, you get mold. So we've had a mold assessment done. I learned very quickly that there's a process. You have someone come in and test for mold. That person then takes that result and goes to a mold remediation specialist, who actually is the person who removes the mold. Then the first person comes back and tests the air and surfaces if applicable to see if the mold was removed. And then and only then can you actually fix the wall. So it is a process, as you can imagine. So we've had the assessment done. The assessment came back and said we did have some mold. There may be some residual mold in the air, but it is at acceptable levels. But if I'm working in that office, other people are working in that office, I want no mold if I can help it. So we are going to bring in air scrubbers. We are going to have the air conditioning ducts and registers cleaned throughout the building so that we're not blowing mold around. And then once we have a sample taken again, we can begin to repair the wall. And that will regain space that we very much need, especially if we're going to hire 2 staff people, because where do we put these 2 people? So that is the issue of the building. Let's see. What have I left out? My goodness, I think I got through my list. So thank you very much for your time. I have business cards now. I didn't have those at the last meeting, so they are in the back table. Please feel free to take one, email me, call me. I can give you my email address again. It's jim@pipoa.net, and I do read all emails. I may not respond if it doesn't require a response to all emails, but I do read all emails, and I do keep them in mind. So thank you very much for your time. I know the World Series is about to start, so Marvin, I will turn it back to you.
Great job. I'd like to compliment Jim on his excellent report tonight and pitching in with both hands to tame the waterfall.
Starry, starry night.